is go and invest more in filling these slots of teachers so that we can have more access for our children. And so my budget proposes to give a $1,000 recruitment or retention bonus to these wonderful souls who are teaching our kids in order to make sure we fill these slots. Now understand, this has worked for Pennsylvania before. I proposed this a couple years ago for police officers, and lawmakers came together and voted for it. We gave a $1,000 recruitment and retention bonus for municipal police officers. And guess what? We've been able to attract 700 new municipal police officers across Pennsylvania. This formula works, and now it's time to drive those dollars out to help make sure that we've got child care workers in our community doing this really important work. Here in Pennsylvania, we identify problems and we solve them, and we solve them on a bipartisan basis. I wanted to be here today in my first event post my budget address to make sure you understand we're working to solve this problem, and to make sure you understand just how important you are, the people who provide child care service, and this need that we have in our communities for more access to affordable child care. This is critically important to me, and I'm going to work together with members of both parties to get this done. It's going to be critically important, and I invite all of you to share your stories and share your passion for this issue so that we're able to come together and make this happen here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Now, I know Megan Garrity is someone who sees the benefits of a wonderful child care program, and it is my pleasure right now to invite Megan up to say a few words, and then we'll hear from some other speakers, and I'll be happy to come back at the end and answer some questions from the media. Thank you all very much for welcoming me here today. Megan, the floor is yours. I'm Joshua.
Thank you, Governor Shapiro. Good afternoon. As he said, my name is Megan Garrity, and I am the proud mother of two incredible children. One is 6 and one is 4. He actually met my daughter downstairs. And both of my children currently attend Crosspoint Early Learning Center. This is their 3rd year at Crosspoint, and each day I'm amazed by how much they've grown as people and what they have learned to do in their time here. I'm in awe of the people they are becoming and how much they know, and it's all thanks to this incredible team here at Crosspoint who deserve the support that Governor Shapiro is calling for in this year's budget. These teachers change lives. As a parent, it was important for me to find a place where my children would be accepted, protected, and educated every day. Both of my children needed an environment where they could thrive, but especially my son, who was diagnosed with autism. The inclusive and welcoming environment of this center, filled with positive interactions, drew me in and held my heart. I knew a center that saw my son for all he had to offer. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And the great things that he could do, but also challenged him to do the hard things by teaching, modeling, and practicing them with him was exactly what he needed. A place where my daughter could be celebrated for her creative fashion sense and wonderful imagination was a place that she would also flourish. Finding an early learning center that saw both of my children as wonderful and unique and capable has created a love of school and learning in both of them, and I truly believe that they will be lifelong learners because of this. The time they have spent here has taught them how to problem solve and interact with people, how to handle conflicts in a positive way, and how to believe in themselves and their abilities. Those are essential skills for any person, and my children have discovered them because of their time here at Crosspoint. That's the value of early childhood education. I can honestly say it has changed my son's life. So I'd now like to invite one of those dedicated staff members who works here at Crosspoint. Sorry. We're going to hear a few words from Ms. Jennifer Shirkwise at this time. Whew.
Great job.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will not make you cry. Thanks for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'd like to say a few words about what Governor Shapiro's proposed early childhood education funding means to me personally, as well as the importance of early childhood teacher retention and recruitment. I've been in the ECE, which means early childhood education field, my entire adult life, and I won't tell you how long that is, both as a direct caregiver and as a program administrator. so I know firsthand the limitations of program budgets. This $55 million allocation will help Pennsylvania's ECE programs compensate teaching professionals, with the end goal being teacher retention, which promotes high-quality care and high learning outcomes for children. When I was younger, I occasionally thought about leaving the field with the goal of making a higher salary. But ultimately, my passion lies with serving children and families, and I've never left my calling, but I definitely still need to earn a high-quality living wage. We early childhood educators love our jobs. We're dedicated to our children and families, and we want to remain in our chosen field. But we also need a competitive wage that allows us to properly provide for ourselves and our loved ones. And I want to be valued for my education, my experience, and my ongoing professional development. This $55 million allocation is meaningful and deeply appreciated, and it's a step in saying that I am definitely seen, heard, and valued as an education professional. So Governor Shapiro, thank you most kindly for believing in and investing in our workforce, for believing in our mission as early childhood professionals, and especially for supporting our children, Pennsylvania's future. And at this time, I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Pennsylvania's Department of Human Services Secretary, Dr. Val, Secretary Dr. Val Arkush.
Just call me Val. Wait.
Val. Thank you.
Secretary Doctor.
Governor. It's great to be here with all of you. Good afternoon. As you heard, I'm Val Arkush. I have the honor of serving as Pennsylvania's Secretary of the Department of Human Services. And I also just want to thank Suzanne and everybody here at Crosspoint for inviting us here to join you today and letting us meet your kids. They are awesome. We had so much fun. And as a working mom, I have now 3 young adult kids, and as a doctor, I know how important this work is. It's critical to families who are working, and it's critical to the early development that Suzanne, you talked about so eloquently. I know that for most of you, this is just not a job. It is so much more, and your care and your compassion shines through. Thank you so much for what you give every single day to the kids that are under your care. I know some days it's pretty hard, and we are so grateful for what you do every single day. Early childhood education programs are vital to a child's educational, social, and emotional development, and especially during those youngest years. It provides the foundation that will benefit them throughout their lives. And as many of us know, childcare is absolutely essential to enable their parents to go to work every day. And so we need to know, as a parent, that our kids are safe when we're at work. We need to be at work and be able to focus on work when we're there, knowing that our children are safe. And I think that's probably one of the most underappreciated aspects of really high-quality childcare, is that it allows that parent or caregiver to be 100% focused on their job when they're there. And of course, every employer deserves that from their employees. So that's why it's critical that we invest in this work, and we make sure that we recruit the best and the brightest and the most committed teachers and others to this work. The benefits of this high-quality childcare are not possible without this dedicated workforce. Simply put, child care professionals help all of us get stuff done. And as we know, that's what the governor gets up to do every single day. I'm really proud that the Shapiro administration, alongside the General Assembly, has shown its ongoing commitment to these providers who give so much to our kids every day. As the governor talked about many of the advances in last year's budget, there was one additional one, which is that we also increased the investment in our Child Care Works programs. This is the program that helps families who make a lower income actually afford child care. The increased funding through last year's budget allowed us to raise reimbursement rates to the providers who participate in Child Care Works to the 75th percentile of private pay rates. It's the first time ever that Pennsylvania has been at the rate that is considered a federal best practice for this program. So again, just want to thank the governor for that and our legislators who voted for that. So this was a great start, but we do need to keep this momentum going. And we need to ensure that we are continuing to support those child care workers that are so critical. Every family should be able to access high-quality child care that is affordable for them, no matter where they live in this Commonwealth, and that is one of our goals. We can help make that a reality through this year's proposed budget investments. Because when we support that child care workforce, everyone benefits: our children, our families, our communities, and our economy. Suzanne was telling me that they can have 9 classrooms open here, and for a number of years they did. They had to drop down to 7 classrooms over the last years. They've got one of those classrooms reopened, and she's really hoping to get that 9th one back open someday soon. It's these kinds of investments in our child care workforce that are going to enable her to recruit new staff and retain current staff to make sure that she's got all 9 of these rooms open. So thank you so much for inviting us here today, and so proud to be part of this effort. Thank you, Governor.
Good job.
And with that, I am happy to introduce my good friend, Senator Patty Kim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Crosspoint, for having us. Pastor David, thank you so much for hosting us today and with your staff. It is so great to be here talking about something really important. So this is my governor. You know, you see him out and about, and rallies, and he does a great job. And then you see him downstairs talking to little people, and he's so good at it. Like, I know he has 4 kids, so he has some practice, but to have a governor who's a family person, who gets it and cares and loves his wife, Lori, it's meaningful to me. So 20 years ago, I left the job market. I was a news reporter, and I had my first baby, and my salary was the exact amount of daycare. And I'm like, why am I having a baby? Have a baby and then just pay to have someone take it away. So we had to make that difficult decision to get out of the workforce and live on one salary. My husband was working for a nonprofit, so we were struggling a little bit. And I know some of you parents understand this. When you have a kid and you don't have a lot of money, you take them to a free public library, free parks, Chocolate World, the ride, and you get little chocolate. You guys all know what I'm talking about, right? And then you go to the mini zoo. Do you know what the mini zoo is?
I do.
PetSmart. So you go and look at all the animals, and then you leave
Where the
feeling.
aquarium is where they have the fish in there, yeah.
And I feel so guilty for leaving without buying anything when I couldn't afford it. So I feel the pain. Childcare, quality childcare is so important. And so it reminded me that my son was here at the summer camp because they do such a great job. And the teachers downstairs have been here for a decade, 25 years, and they make probably a certain amount. It is a calling. Let us take care of our daycare providers and pay them for what they're worth.
Yes.
So in conclusion, I wish we could give a lot more than $55 million, but because we are in a divided government, we have to go within our means and the parameters that we have. But just know that you guys are so special to us, and continue the good work, and we will continue to be supportive. It is my pleasure to pass it off to my friend, Representative Justin Fleming, who we are in his district.
Wow. We're excited.
So, well, yes, welcome to the 105th Legislative District and, of course, the 15th Senatorial District. It is an honor to be here today, and I think we were a little bit prescient. Suzanne and I just saw each other last week. My office hosted a childcare forum, and the reason why we did that is because prior to me joining the General Assembly, I was a mental health and child advocate. And so the last 4 years, I worked for an organization called Pennsylvania Partnerships for Children, statewide nonprofit organization. But I would go in and talk to or bother then Representative, now Senator Patty Kim, about supporting things like high-quality childcare, high-quality pre-K, because it's important. It's important for all of us, and my story is similar to the governor's. I'm a parent. My kids are now 18 and 12, but they were fortunate enough, and my wife and I were fortunate enough to be able to send them to a high-quality childcare right here in the Capital Region, the JCC, Early Learning Center. So, and we are fortunate right here in the Capital Region to have a number of different options for childcare. But others across the state are not so fortunate. And this is a real pinch me moment for me, because this is exactly the reason why I ran and the reason why I wanted to serve. To have the opportunity to work on something that I worked on as an advocate and now have a vote on seeing it pass and seeing it get done, and really trying to support all these families across the Commonwealth with childcare tax credits, like you heard, the largest tax cut for seniors in 2 decades. Again, it's part of the GSD mentality that the governor has and that we all have to try and make life better for families here in the Commonwealth. So I want to thank Pastor Dave for welcoming us, and just tell you that this $55 million is going to be a boon for child care workers who deserve it, who need it. Again, we have to work in what's possible. I'd love to do 3-4 times more that amount, but sometimes we have to work in the art of the possible in this world. So it's an excellent first step, and it shows and demonstrates our commitment to supporting child care workers and supporting the child care workforce here in the Commonwealth. So, Governor, I just want to thank you for your budget address, the things you outlined, and more specifically for taking care of our child care workforce. Thank you. It's an honor to work with you.
Thank you. Thanks, Representative Fleming. I know they were acknowledged before, but you heard from Senator Kim and Representative Fleming. Don't lose sight of the fact that you have 3 other representatives who are here today: Madsen, Davidson, and Mahaffey. I want to single them out because this is a delegation that works together, works across party lines, and delivers for South Central Pennsylvania routinely. And I appreciate the fact that you gentlemen are here as well. So thank you all very much. And with that, we'll do our best to answer a few questions. You agreed to answer all the questions. Any questions from the media? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have 2 off-topic questions.
How about we just start with this and I'll come back to you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Anything on this?
Yeah, Governor, these are grants that are going to be pushed out to CCW participants, and what, I guess, the Secretary talked about increasing the rates last year. So I guess the question is, why is this structured the way it is? Why not just increase the reimbursement rates more instead of doing a grant
We
program?
think it's a both and. Increasing the rates is important, but we also want to give folks like the pastor and others the tools they need to be able to go and recruit teachers and to be able to retain them here. We've seen this work, as I said before, really effectively with municipal police officers. Obviously a very different field, but where we're able to give the dollars to, in that case, the localities, in this case, the child care centers, and allow them to structure those dollars to either keep someone here who that $1,000 is going to make a real difference to, or bring another teacher in to open up, or just say, Madam Secretary, the 9th classroom, right, so that we're at full capacity. We know those dollars, together with the underlying programmatic dollars, can really make a difference. And I'm hopeful lawmakers will continue to come at the child care issue across the board. Tax cuts for families, investing directly in these centers, and being able to provide these additional dollars to recruit and retain these wonderful people that educate our children.
Governor, this center seems amazing, by the way. We all love teachers. I have an off-topic question, though, also. With the Ellen Greenberg investigation, I know you're familiar with it because you were Attorney General, this big development with the medical examiner now saying that he doesn't believe that it was a suicide. What would you like to see happen? Do you think there should be a new criminal investigation?
Yeah. Well, look, I don't think I should speak for the city of Philadelphia and why they chose to make the decision they did. But let me just offer maybe some broader comments. First off, as a father of 4, my heart breaks for the Greenberg family. No parent should ever, ever have to bury a child. And this is a case that I inherited as Attorney General that occurred, if memory serves me, about 6 years prior to me even becoming Attorney General of the Commonwealth. And it was a case that was put on my desk after the city of Philadelphia ruled that Ellen Greenberg died by suicide, not by homicide. That wasn't my decision. That was made years prior by the city of Philadelphia. The case was then sent to the Attorney General's office for investigation. And we looked at every possible angle. There's nothing I wanted more than to give these parents some finality, some answers, some clarity. And we received more evidence, more information during the course of our investigation that sadly didn't show what they wanted it to show, but actually rather pointed to more data, more information that pointed toward a suicide. At some point, the Greenberg family asked that we no longer consider the case. And under the Commonwealth Attorneys Act, I had the authority as Attorney General to transfer that case to a neighboring district attorney, and I did. We transferred it to the Chester County District Attorney, if memory serves me. They looked at it for a couple of years, and they found the same determination as well. There was no evidence there that supported a homicide. There was no evidence there that supported any sort of criminal charges against anyone else. And they closed the case. So over the span of whatever it's been, over 10 years, over a decade, you've had 3 or 4 different law enforcement agencies look at it and come to that same conclusion. The city of Philadelphia were the ones that began this process when they determined the cause of death. That's on them to explain why they determined that. That had nothing to do with the Attorney General's office or any district attorney's office. I'll end this, where I began. My heart really does break for the Greenberg family. And I know that, some, maybe feel that lashing out at me in the media is helpful to their cause. I'm not going to stand in judgment of them. These are parents who are grieving and anguished. And again, I think no parent should have to bury a child. Lashing out isn't going to change the evidence here. And I'm hopeful that as this process goes forward, if any new information comes to bear, that it immediately be shared with the Chester County District Attorney and allow the DA there to conduct an investigation of that new material should anything come forward.
Do you think the medical examiner coming forward now, though, and saying he no longer believes it's a suicide is enough to push this forward? I mean, that's a big change.
Yeah, I think that's a question for the DA in Chester County. It has to have some evidence with it, not just someone feeling different. But certainly if there's some evidence that this medical examiner has uncovered, I'm not familiar with that, I'm no longer the AG. If they have new evidence, new information, they should share that immediately. One of the things that was particularly frustrating to me when I was Attorney General is someone would have a press conference, claim to have new information, we would invite them into the AG's office, and then they actually didn't have anything that was particularly new, and they used the media to keep the issue alive. I understand why parents would want to keep this alive. I understand why they would want to find answers. I wanted nothing more than to be able to give them the answers that they wanted. But when you're in the role of being a prosecutor, you have to follow the evidence. And we never saw any evidence to suggest anything different. And then we shared the case with another district attorney, and they found the same. Yes?
2 questions for you. Republicans are promising to push for school vouchers. Can you just give your thoughts on them, and if it becomes a budget bill, will you sign up on it?
I've always said that this is a matter that the House Democrats and the Senate Republicans need to come together on. In my first year, the Senate Republicans put forth an idea that the House Democrats weren't for. Last year, the House Democrats countered and said that they would do the program as a tax credit. Senate Republicans said no. So I have, as I did last year, left space in these budget negotiations to see if there could be common ground there. I still support the option of giving poor kids in struggling school district more resources to help them with their education, never at the expense of public education, but in addition to, and this is a matter between the leaders of both caucuses to work together on.
Thank you. And this last one is a Dennis Owens question, so bear with me.
I am unwilling to answer a Dennis Owens question unless he shows up.
So, Republican
You're going to
leaders-
keep going, huh?
Republican leaders held a press conference yesterday about energy, saying that any kind of carbon tax is, quote, non-starter, and suggested it would hamstring energy producers needed by the grid. Also just suggested that hamstringing Pennsylvania companies makes no dent in the overall global climate picture, so why do it? What is your response?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are like a broken record. They've been saying the same thing for years and years and years and years. And you know what's happened during those years? We are falling behind because the Senate's unwilling to do anything when it comes to being more competitive on energy. I put together a plan that has been backed by the building trades, environmental groups, consumer groups, and industry. No one's been able to do that for the last decade. We actually set the table for progress on energy. I want to generate more energy in Pennsylvania. I want to drive down costs in Pennsylvania. I want more renewables to be able to be used to protect our planet and give people safe, reliable, affordable energy. My plan does that, and I put it forth in great detail to the House and the Senate. Now, I fully expect lawmakers to take my proposal and put their ideas forth, and then we compromise. That's how bills get to my desk, through compromise. Compromise is a good thing. But if you're just gonna have press conferences and take your ball and go home and say, I'm not doing anything, all you're doing is cheating the good people of Pennsylvania and making it harder for Pennsylvania to be the powerhouse energy producer it can be. You're making people's bills rise because you're unwilling to do anything with it. So I get that there are people out there that just want to have press conferences to be against anything I'm for, because I'm for it. But I would caution them for doing nothing. Inaction here is going to just drive up prices and drive down generation. I've brought all the different people together, and I would encourage the Senate Republicans to actually listen to those who we've assembled around the table, who understand the great position we're in to be a powerhouse on energy in Pennsylvania, and capitalize on this opportunity to find common ground as opposed to just taking their ball and going home. Okay?
Governor, there was a fairly sizable anti-Trump, anti-Elon Musk protest at the Capitol yesterday. And as the person who's the sort of de facto leader of Democrats in Pennsylvania, what would be your message?
You say sort of the de facto? Is that what you just said? Jeez.
Maybe you know.
Okay.
What I was getting at.
Yes.
What do you say to people who are wondering, people in your party who are wondering what they can do about what's going on in Washington, or what their response should be, or what their course of action should be regarding some of the stuff that's happening?
I didn't see the rally, and I didn't read any of the coverage. So I'll make some general comments, but I can't really comment on anything they said there specifically. I understand that right now, with all the chaos Donald Trump has brought to bear over these first 17 days of his administration, the way he's attacked certain people in our community because of what they look like or where they come from, who they love, who they pray to, who they are. I understand how that can make people feel uneasy and worried. And I understand how that can make some people retreat and not engage. I think the answer right now is to engage directly, is to show up, is to make your voice heard, is to let your congressman and your senator know just how important these issues are to you as a Pennsylvanian, and encourage them to do their jobs and actually be a check on the president. I think it is very, very important that Pennsylvanians stand up and speak up. I think it needs to be done in a constructive and peaceful and safe manner. And that is what I would encourage Pennsylvanians to do. Stand up, speak up, and allow your voices to be heard. I understand it's also very hard to kind of see all the noise and know what's really happening. I'll give you one concrete example, which you may not be aware of. I think it was about a week ago, right, where the president said he was freezing all federal spending. It's a week ago. It's either a week or a decade ago. I can't tell at this point. And they very quickly said that they rescinded that order to freeze spending. Well, I don't know if any reporters have reported on this, but right now we have nearly $950 million of money that has been promised or contracted from the federal government that is frozen here in Pennsylvania, that we can't draw down. And you know what? This is when it comes issues for environmental protection, protecting our workers, plugging wells that are leaking methane in our communities. The federal government has shut off that spending. I think it's important that people stand up and speak up and let our congressional delegation know that that's not okay. I was just downstairs with the children. We learned about how a bill becomes a law. Lawmakers vote for it. A governor or president signs it into law. The president doesn't just then get to unilaterally change that, just like I don't get to unilaterally change that. I think it is important that the Congress of the United States, particularly members of Congress from Pennsylvania, make sure we get every dollar that's been voted for and promised to us. This is a real problem, and one, by the way, that we're contemplating taking legal action against the Trump administration if they don't release those funds that have been promised to us. So I want to encourage Pennsylvanians to speak up, to use their voices, to do it constructively, to not retreat. This is a moment to make your voices heard. And this is a moment where, I applaud Pennsylvanians, no matter what their perspective is, to get in the arena and to be engaged in the process. Okay? Thank you all very, very much.